This question is becoming more common. Is it too late to invest in cryptocurrency? This video is going to explain a couple of things to you. Firstly, how you are not late, and if you're thinking of the long term, this might be a really good place to start to buy. Secondly, if you're looking for tips on how to survive in this market, this video will help you get out without round tripping your bags. Thirdly, back in 2016 when I was investing, I actually did buy some pretty bad areas. It's just the way it is, but luckily, with perseverance, it worked out for me. I know a lot of people that bought really, really badly. A lot of them work for me as well. I've had people that bought in 2018 tops, 2021 tops. I'll probably meet someone in 2024 who bought the top and will probably work for me in a couple of years' time. It's just the way it goes. So firstly, before we go anywhere, I just want to draw your attention to this. Quite a lot of you guys are not subscribed. So if you could subscribe, it will mean a lot to me. Thank you. Now, one of the big factors here of being early is the ETF element. We have got 4.18% of the supply of Bitcoin held by ETFs. The inflows are not too bad versus the outflows. And as you can see, there's been quite a lot of new money coming to the market, right? These are new customers that are like genuinely interested in buying a little bit of Bitcoin. Now, it's a little bit different to like just buying Bitcoin themselves, but if people are wealthy and in BlackRock, Fidelity, and they want to diversify, they might well look at Bitcoin and go, oh, I might want some of that. I can do that very, very easily. So that is one big element of probably a bit early, certainly when we think where we are with something very, very obvious I'm going to talk about. Ready for it? This bit, halving. It's early. Like, we are doing really well in terms of market capitalization of the entire market. We're growing nicely. Bitcoin has surpassed its all-time high, and we are 23 days, roughly, give or take, depending on the block size, away from Bitcoin halving. Often volatility comes, so there might well be an opportunity to get in the space here. However, normally, halving is a catalyst. I say normally, usually, very often, is a catalyst. 100 days later, we tend to find Bitcoin becoming a decent price base. Then a year later from that point, Bitcoin is usually much, much higher in price. Just saying, right? So that is one big factor to consider, right? We also have a potential Ethereum ETF. Going back to that element there, Fidelity here have literally taken steps to do the Ethereum ETF. This actually does include staking, or one of them includes staking. Now, there's a lot of regulation sort of situations around this. Is it a security? Is it not a security? But ultimately, let's talk about it in all obvious detail. If we're going to get people interested in the Bitcoin ETF, there's a really, really high chance that they're going to be interested in the Ethereum ETF. And then we may go down the rabbit hole of something else, which is what I want to come on to in a second, is more crypto assets being available for institutional investment. Basket of coins, if that makes sense, right? As I say, BlackRock enters asset tokenization race with new fund on the Ethereum network. This is relatively big, and I think it's flew under the radar. Now, this element here, real world assets, very, very buzzwordy at the moment, I know. And there's a lot of elements to this, but the asset manager, BlackRock, have officially unveiled a tokenized asset fund on the Ethereum network on Wednesday. This is bloody huge, by the way. But as I say, not many people are talking about it. This is like the little small steps in time that we're looking at now, thinking in the next couple of years, we could well have a load of different funds with a basket of assets in there. This could be one of them, little narratives and stuff like that. Absolutely massive in terms of digital currencies, right? The biggest problem with that is, will it go through okay? What will happen? What is regulation clarity? This gives you that framework that, hold on a minute, we might actually be very, very early because this is still getting rolled out. Yes, it will be volatile. Yes, it will be a bit crazy. Yes, there'll be some negative news headlines and stuff. But reality is, if this actually becomes a genuine thing where over time, we're going to start seeing all these kind of stuff and they're starting to invest in different assets to provide for people, maybe put them in pension funds, maybe put them in different indexes and whatnot. That is absolutely massive. Retail, you guys are, I wouldn't say retail, you're more like the die-hard core fans of cryptocurrency. You're an investor. To me, a retail is someone who has never really invested before and wants to do it just because they think they can make money, right? Often, right, we all go through this transition. Let me explain it. We are interested, we like it, and then we love it. And we become into that way of life. And eventually, over time, you stick around, you start being more and more active, and then investing becomes a way of life. I've talked about that in my previous video, right? I don't think the retail are fully here. I'll explain in more detail why I think that. But when we look at like all the details here on the block, this is a great website, by the way. It says a search volume. Yeah, it's trickling up. Don't get me wrong. It is genuinely trickling up. But it's not to mental levels. Let me explain what mental levels are. If I go to all here, this is obviously, you know, previous levels of like Bitcoin and like how high they tend to go. We're slowly getting there. The reality is here, we're slowly starting to increase, but nothing nowhere near the levels that we've had in the past. So that's given us a bit of an element there. When the likes of Coinbase are ranked number one on, say, the iOS store or Google Play Store, whatever, that's when it starts getting really, really crazy. So when we talk about that, I don't think the craziness has happened. Now, I mentioned on my Patreon, check it out, by the way. Start buying, bit of an alpha hit, random coins that you think won't pump, but they will pump because the dumb money's coming and the retail will buy it. What I mean by this is Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum Classic. Look what's happened to Doge. Look what's happened to Bitcoin Cash the last few days. People will buy silly things thinking it's an alternative. When TikTok gets running and people are starting to get really dumb advice, they will buy the alternative because they feel they've actually been taught wrong that Ethereum Classic is going to be as good as Ethereum, even though they don't understand what it is. Same with Bitcoin Cash. They don't understand it's a hard fork from. You get the idea? That element, when you start seeing those legacy coins really going mental, that is when we know retail are here, right? Yes, my YouTube channel's grown. Yes, everything else has grown, but I haven't had many silly questions just yet. There's a couple, don't get me wrong, but it's not really banana levels yet, right? Okay, just not all there yet. Now, scam influencers, right? I had a question on my Patreon, going back to that on my Wednesday video 2 weeks ago, about what red flags do you normally see when you start to think that the market's starting to get a bit more turned on? And I mentioned people like on the screen here. These random influencers that come out of absolutely nowhere, they've never been in the space before, but offering like a $5,000 coin, or a course, sorry, might as well do a coin. You know, stuff like that is massively important. It's a big red flag. Influencers or celebrity endorsement deals and random stuff like that come out of nowhere and they're all of a sudden promoting like whatever, but they've never touched crypto ever in their life. There's people coming who have been selling toothpaste on multi-level marketing kind of things back into Bitcoin and stuff like that. That is a big red flag. Now, what we're looking at here is, are we seeing price-driven manipulation through the scam influence? No, we're not. We're still early. We haven't seen fully of that just yet. We will start to see it, and then you'll start seeing me whinge and moan on social media about it. It's a red flag, and this is where you start taking note of it. And this is where you guys need to ride the momentum of the market when these are doing it and they're pushing it to all these retail people. And I know it sounds mental, but this is how brutal the market is. You are literally taking money from some new investor and putting it into your hands unknowingly to you. You are ruining their lives because you are taking profit as they're buying. That's kind of the game. You need to be early. Stuff like this, right, helps that situation because guess what they're doing? They're generating hype based off their followers, right? That's a problem, right? As much as I talk about certain assets, some people are genuine big celebrities that will talk. Look what happened with Paris Hilton and NFTs and Jimmy Kimmel and Elon Musk with Doge. All that kind of stuff is a massive factor. And this is what works, right? The problem is the power of influence. You can see here that, the social media engagement element. When you start seeing people you've never heard of with a decent audience talking about certain things about crypto, NFTs, metaverse, all that kind of stuff, keep an eye out. Try and look to see when the music's going to stop and you're going to lose all your money, because there will be a point, and we're going to come on to that section very, very soon. So what we're going to talk about is the trend and how you can stay in the game a little bit better and have a little bit of an edge versus the retail normal person, right? You have to start learning. You have to start getting better at what you're doing to survive in any market, right? Now, if you've looked at my chart before, you'll know there's a line on it. There always has been. It's the moving average, or the EMA, exponential moving average, 21 period, right? That's it. So to get this on your chart, just put in EMA, winner, and it's just this one. You just press it, and then you go to your settings, and you set it to 21. I personally remove the smoothing because it kind of ruins it, and I like to keep it nice and faint. Now, what does this do? This, on the higher time frames, from the 3-day, the weekly, or the monthly, allows you to stay in a position based off the market trend. Price is going above that moving average, right? So if you go to the weekly, you can see how Bitcoin has performed over the course of time. What is it telling you? It's telling you two things. One, the trend is bullish. The trend is still okay, right? So what do I mean by all this, right? So when you look in terms of, right, I think I am late to the game or whatever, right? Now, yes, you're going to look at Bitcoin and you go, I probably won't buy that. Tip in a second, I will talk about how to get Bitcoin in a minute. But when you look at certain altcoins, you need to pick the undervalued ones that haven't really ran or the ones that could run, and you can sit in it and ride that momentum wave. Now, let me give you a couple of examples of these. Bitcoin Cash, mentioned it before. They might be a little bit of idiocy coming in here where people will compare it to Bitcoin. Doesn't mean it's any good. It's not a good asset, but it could make you money. This kind of vibe, right? You've got to think that every single thing in this market is a vehicle for you to make money. Don't get married to your bags, because if you're late to the party, you might get crushed. You need to know when to step out. So when you're investing, invest when you think, yes, there could be some multiples here, obviously. But the reality is here, and it's simple. You need to get out when you start seeing signs of weakness and starting to get below that moving average 21. Another one, and it's probably a little bit late now, but is Dogecoin. Could well spike up due to retail investment. It's one of those. Another one could be the likes of Cardano in the past, where it's got a lot of retail kind of elements to it and a big community could well get going, right? But the reality is with all of this is you do not know when this is going to stop. But what you can do is you can start getting out when you start seeing signs of weakness. So look in the prior cycles, when you're above the moving average 21, it's a good time to buy into it and kind of get stuck in, right? When it goes below it, it's a good time to bug out and not buy again until that situation kind of changes and you're back above it, right? You can use that very, very simply on these weekly timeframes, or if you want to be a bit faster, you can do it on the 3-day time frame too. This is not foolproof, but it allows you to get out and stops you from getting wrecked, right? But there's a couple more metrics we can look at here as well. Talked about it before. How to get Bitcoin using your altcoins, right? Bitcoin dominance is relatively high. When it's high, it's time to buy. That's the rule. When it's low, it's time to sell. You sell your altcoins again when it is nice and low on dominance, because ultimately the money is rotated around. Basically, all seasons happen as it's flying down. Now, again, if you are in the market and you see this melt, and it starts consolidating down these levels and it starts going back up again, you probably would have at some point in your lifetime in that trade or in that investment have made money. The biggest thing that people do is they forget about this part and they kind of ruin it. So going back to it, you might buy something like XRP, right at these tops and thinking, wow, it's going to go up, and you're looking on YouTube and all these scam influencers are telling you it's going to go to like $5 and you get destroyed. You have to look at one thing and one thing only. What is your portfolio telling you? People forget this bit massively, and this is how I literally got out of the market in 2021. Wasn't so much on the technicals. Technicals are always delayed. Most of the time you will see prior levels of support or resistance in this case because you're going up. However, there's a big problem with all this. Sometimes in cryptocurrency, they break out above all-time highs and there's not much there. Yes, you can use Fibonacci sequences. If you go on to learning crypto, you can find out how to do all this. However, the biggest thing that you have in your absolute armory is, have I made enough money, right? Depends on how early you are, right? Obviously. But if you look at it and think, wow, that's gone up loads and I'm probably going to take a little bit of profit here because it could come back down. Look at XRP here, right? Absolutely mental. One day it was up at nearly $2. Literally 2 days later, it was down at 90 cents, right? That is crypto. Literally within a week, you have literally lost that much money. That is how scary it can be. And if you are looking at some of these levels, you need to know that, right? So yes, put a moving average on there. Try and get in with the trend, but try not to get out with the trend as much as that. You've also got to go on your feelings, your emotions, thinking, oh, I made a lot of money here. I should really take a little bit off the table here. And then when you start seeing it trend down, you might well be able to go, well, you know what? It's below the EMA 21. I might be able to buy it. That is a very, very volatile, horrible, ugly chart, by the way. If you're looking at something a little bit neater and tidy, maybe NIR is probably quite a good one, where prior cycles, obviously, nice little run up. Yes, big bearish volatility sort of situations here. But at the end of the day, though, when you're looking at this and you have been buying at like freaking 70 cents, but all of a sudden it's down at up at $20, crazy kind of levels, right? It will not run forever, right? You've got to look at the obvious. That, again, probably a hard one to look at, but you get the idea. Certainly when you look at these weekly time frames, the trend is definitely your friend. You can use that, but remember, you are never going to time tops. You're never going to time bottoms. But if you have got it in your, in yourself and in your own belief, and you are like riding this right the way up, it's not too bad realistically, right? So there we are. Leave a like if you've not yet done so. Please do subscribe. As I say, there's a lot of you that are not subscribed. And yeah, check out this video that's recommended next to me. That one will give you some good perspective.